The time is 4 o'clock. I will call the Plan Commission meeting to order in person and via Zoom, Tuesday, August 8th, City Hall, second floor. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Gray,
Here.
Commissioner Highfield,
Here.
Commissioner Kesenick. Here. Commissioner Shull,
Here.
Councilperson Schultz.
He did just send me a message. He will be a little bit late via Zoom.
Okay,
So
thank
we'll watch
you.
for him.
Engineer Sally,
Here.
Manager Houseman.
Here.
Thank you.
Number 3 is review and possible action relating to the minutes of the July 25th, 2023 regular Plan Commission meeting.
I move approval of the minutes of the July 25th, 2023 Plan Commission meeting.
I will second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments from the Plan Commission?
Just one that says Diana. It's number 2. It just says that I arrived at 4:15, which I did, and then it just says absent me. And so just if that's the way that you need to do it, that's fine. Otherwise, it's a little confusing.
Gotcha. We can make that change. Looking for a friendly amendment from the from Commissioner Gray and Commissioner Kesnick in that respect.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Okay. Any final questions or comments from the Plan Commission on the minutes? So we have a motion on the floor to move the minutes as amended to reflect that Commissioner Shull was present and arrived at 4:15. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that motion carries. Thank you. Item number 4 is review and possible action relating to a site plan review for the Culvers property located at 1551 Madison Avenue. This is site plan review -2023-02. Building inspector / zoning administrator Drager, please. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Hi, so yes, Culvers is proposing to reconfigure their parking lot to allow for a second drive-through lane and order board sign. You will maybe remember through some of our amendments that we did do some changes to allow for a second order board sign. This could be a driving force behind that a little bit. That does trigger a full site review, as you will notice from the lengthy memo. We go through all these things. A lot of the stuff is unchanged, does meet a lot of things. A few things that did come up would be the site plan did not show for a 6-inch curb. I did speak with Mr. McGuire here, who is a representative for Culvers, that will be included on the site plan. It just needs to be marked. Another thing would be the queuing line in front of the ordering stations. Given the current site layout and the restrictions on the site itself, you will see from the memo that was put in there from Culvers that there are some restraints on that. So what they're showing in the memo that was put in there, it kind of explains the type of ordering that goes there. This will, in their words, and I think staff would agree that this will help with the backup of traffic during the busy times, allowing for 2 vehicles to go through at the same time, and changing the ordering style. Other than that, there was a thing on the lighting that came up that should be verified, that there won't be any lighting meeting the next door neighbors. Other than that, this is in concert with our comprehensive plan, and staff does recommend approval with the suggestions at the bottom.
So Jed, the queuing line that you were talking about, that you were concerned about, was this, it kind of wraps around the current situation through the front parking area, and that's where pedestrians are entering the main
Correct.
exit.
Yeah,
Okay.
we do require 100 feet. They are only around 45 feet, I believe it is. But they do an overall length of the queuing exceed our requirements.
Mhm.
If you allow the queuing to go clear back to where it comes in the parking lot.
Commissioner Gray, can you turn on your microphone? Thank you, sir.
Is that if the 100 feet is satisfied if you take it further back in the
If you
parking
would,
lot?
yeah, if you were to count that, it would be met, yeah.
Okay.
Right now, I think we can all be aware that backing up of traffic is exceeding those things right now. So we do believe this would alleviate a fair amount of that, allowing for 2. And as you will read in there, explanation, most of their backup of traffic would happen after ordering. So, and then with the extended queuing area afterwards and for the additional parking or in those areas, that allows for people to keep on moving through the line.
I may have been through this drive-through a time or two. Yeah, you park over here on the south side. Yeah, that does make sense that folks move through the drive-through, take their order and then basically wait for their order to come out over in this area. So that should help a little bit. And I think we talked as well, staff level, that most of the cars, although you're interacting with cars here, are stopped. And so it's not a situation where you have actively moving vehicles through there. So it's not ideal, but at the same time, it seems like a situation that we can accommodate.
Right. A couple of other things to note in there is the owner has agreed or proposed to add landscaping and things around, which is not a requirement for this site plan review, as they're not changing the building itself. Another thing that is in this memo that should be also mentioned is the excess of parking spaces. Given the site, we only allow for 10 or I believe it's 12 parking spaces at this site. Which I think, given the type of structure, I, as a staff, I don't think would recommend forcing that down to 12.
I also would just note that having a maximum parking spot is a relatively new concept in the world of zoning ordinances, and was certainly included in the 2020 rewrite, but was not likely in the previous zoning ordinance, as there were mainly minimum parking requirements in previous zoning codes. I would just quick question, Jed.
Yes.
At what point, and I would hope it would be signed, but for traffic flow, at what point does the one queuing line become two to serve those two order boards and the two lines? So we just want to make sure that there's not, two lines of traffic coming into that parking lot.
Gotcha.
And being side by side, and then, all your parking spaces, people couldn't.
Right. I think that should be determined by some painting to describe that
Sure.
as well. But where those two split would be where the two cars should separate. Where there should be one line at that turn coming around.
Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind making a condition of the approval, just having them submit a paint layout of that
that
lane.
would
I'm
be-
sure they're gonna have it anyway, so it'd be nice to confirm that that's the case.
Mhm.
So just as a clarification, if this were a new site and under existing laws, we would only have allowed 10 spots without a variation of some kind in that space?
There is a measure in there for plan commission to make an adjustment or allow for expanded parking
Okay,
in the current ordinances.
okay.
Just given the general site plan count, that's what it would be, but there is a provision in the ordinance that allows for plan commission to expand that. Chris, would you like to say something about the lighting plan? Yes.
Could you please state your name and affiliation for the record, please?
Good afternoon. My name is Chris McGuire, McCon Building Corporation, 1209 Joseph Street, Dodgeville, Wisconsin. And I'd like to thank city staff for all of the help and guidance through this process. One of the things that we were just talking about earlier is that related to the existing or proposed photometrics to be submitted as one of the stipulations. It's challenging to get photometrics on existing properties. It is easy to put them together for new store construction. I had a message into the owner, did not get a message back yet, but related to if they were to change it over to LED lighting, again, it would be easy to get photometrics pulled together. I just don't have a handle on if they're going to do LED upgrades on this property. I would expect it at some point in time, but don't have that information today. The proposed light pole relocation, which Jed had explained to me earlier, is it was a trigger for photometrics because of the site plan review, not because of the single pole being relocated about 12 feet. That is primarily, we're not changing anything significantly about the property from what it currently exists as. So the hope is that it would be allowed to go forward. Should they change it over to LED, that we could do it as provide photometrics at that time and make sure that we're in compliance with city ordinances.
Where is the location of the light pole that's being moved?
It's near the outside menu board lane. Essentially, as I understood it from the engineer when I was driving in, is that we're moving it from the existing location, which would be the southerly tip of that outside island, moving it north. From what he explained to me.
So it's an interior light as opposed to a perimeter light on the
That
property.
that was what was explained to me, yes.
Okay. And you have no idea whether the LED upgrades are planned for this particular facility?
They're not in the current planning, what we're proposing right now. but,
Okay.
In general terms, anybody that can, does as they go forward.
Which would eliminate any concerns about photometrics if those upgrades were made.
It eliminates the concerns about the ability to do photometrics. The metal halide lights fade or dim by about 30% in the first 5 years.
Mhm.
LED lights are better quality light, better distributional light. We would having not read your ordinances yet about photometrics, we would have to be mindful of where they're at and be careful to not, I presume there's spillage on the property line and some other
Mhm.
items like that you would want to have.
Yeah.
So we would have to be cognizant of that in the design.
But I would say we just take a look at what, once you firm up everything, this certainly is in a commercial district with commercial surrounding it. So the need for understanding the photometrics isn't quite as significant as if we were boarding a residential area or something like that, obviously.
Yes,
But
sir.
still, we want to, understand the situation and we can compare it against the code and then make some staff decisions at that point, I would say.
Okay, so forgive me, so you'd want to have it if we're going to do an upgrade, or you would want to have it as a proposed upgrade to do a photometric study? How would you like that?
I think the photometric study I would go ahead and just do it regardless of whether you're going to upgrade or you're going to leave the lighting as is. If you leave it as is, it sounds like we may have some challenges meeting our current code. And that's where I think staff would take a look at that and understand the level of change and within the context of that particular commercial corridor. If you're doing the LED improvements, my understanding is you should be able to meet the codes under the LEDs, perhaps.
Flip that.
Flip that. Okay.
Yes. So as it exists right now, I'm not able to give you, the engineers aren't able to just simply say, here's my program and here's what you're gonna have for foot candles of light distribution.
Okay.
If I change it over to LED and provide the location of the lights and the heights of the lights, they can say, here's what you're gonna have. And it is likely that the LED lighting is better or brighter.
Mhm.
Whereas the metal halide lights that exist out there are probably dimmer than what they would show even on a plan today, because they have faded.
Okay.
I can have a photometric plan generated based on the proposed upgrade to a LED that would happen someday. And I'm not able to commit to that today as far as what that is, but it's easy to see that what we can provide in the future. And as you're suggesting, it's all commercial around. It'll be easy to comply with that, I would expect.
Okay. I would offer that just simply submit a photometric plan,
Got it.
whether it is true to the current situation or not, and whether it's LED or not, and then we'll go from there. Certainly, we're going to be upgrading or changing that one pole at least, so the impact of that particular pole we can take a look at, and we'll have some documentation. I expect we'll be able to handle this at a staff review level,
Understood.
but it'd be good to have something in front of us to look at and document that.
That I can do. Were there any other questions I may be able to answer?
I have a question. I don't know if it should be directed to you or city staff, but it says in the land use requirements that it includes clearly marked pedestrian crosswalks provided for each customer entrance, but it's not applicable. Why is it not applicable?
Changing that. That would not come into play because they are not changing that area of the parking lot.
So it was never applicable?
It would have been applicable at the time that the parking lot was installed.
Had that been a requirement of the zoning code at the time the parking lot was installed.
Okay. But we're doing a full site plan review, aren't we? today?
We are
or-
on overall situations, but we don't, in our ordinances, we don't require, would be the same as requiring them to resurface the entire parking lot or something along those lines.
The plan commission, I think we are asking, we're going to ask, I think, for a paint layout
Okay,
plan. The plan commission could ask that a crosswalk.
yeah, I would like to request that because there are residences around there and I've actually walked my mom to Culver's in a wheelchair and there's sidewalk, but once you get to the parking lot, you're kind of on your own and you're competing with cars and, you know, there's really no regard for pedestrians. I mean, and there are apartments and motels around there too. I mean, I guess I'd like to see more accommodations for pedestrians. I understand the need for the second lane, but I'd also at the same time like to see more accommodations for pedestrians in those areas.
Okay.
Personally,
Would that look like a connection from the sidewalk to the front entrance?
probably, yeah.
Yeah, there is long-term plans for the connection with Rena Avenue and making sidewalks from the high school essentially to this location, which I'm sure would prompt a lot more folks to walk that way from the high school. So that probably is a pretty good idea to take that into account at this stage. And I don't think it'd be a significant investment on the part of Culvers to do that.
So where would you put pedestrian access on that site plan? Jill, what did you have?
You're
in
asking
mind?
me, Lauren? Well, I'm not a site planner, but I mean, if I could do it over again, or if could you lower that plan down a little bit just so we can see that upper northwest corner of the site? I don't remember what the grade conditions are up there, but I mean, it might be best to come off that sidewalk, you know, closer to the entrance rather than going to the driveway for the whole mall area and then coming back.
Mhm.
But I understand that there's, you know, lawn there, so.
So if you went all the way back to the corner,
Mhm.
then you'd have to come through the parking lot to get to the front entrance with your pedestrian along the edge of the
Well,
building?
you have to
or-
come through the parking lot no matter
No,
what.
but I mean, there you'd come from the entrance all the way in front of the building over to the main entrance. Is that how you do it?
That's how you have to do it now.
Right.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, the sidewalk ends, I think, right in this area, if I'm not mistaken. This is the entrance here.
Yeah. The sidewalk may even end at the roadway.
Yeah, they can certainly submit that. I think a little thought on the part of the engineers will lay that out. The shortest distance between 2 points, obviously, is what most people will take, whether you put a sidewalk there or not. So,
Yeah.
but we can certainly include that as part of the kind of the striping and paint layout plan.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments from the plan commission on this?
I move the approval of the site plan as put together with 41 stalls, subject to the following conditions. Require the applicant to add a minimum 6-inch curb of the site plan around the entirety of the proposed drive-through island and along the full length of the eastern drive-through, subject to approval by city staff. Allow the drive-through lanes to have less than 100 feet of vehicle queuing area in front of the order station due to the existing site constraints. Require the applicant to provide a proposed exterior lighting plan, photometric plans, and fixture types that meets all requirements of the ordinance for the new light fixtures. Subject to approval by city staff and any other recommendations that city staff might have.
And if it's.
Oh, and
done with
pedestrian and put a provision for pedestrian access from Madison Avenue to the front entrance of Culver's.
Okay, I have a motion on the floor. And just to reiterate, that is the 1 through 3 of recommendations in the staff report from city staff, as well as adding pedestrian accommodations to connect Madison Avenue to the front entrance of the building.
I would also add that paint marking
Oh,
plan as well.
As well, if that's friendly, Commissioner Gray, the site paint
Queuing?
Paint layout.
layout plan that would show the crosswalk as well as the separation of 1 lane into 2 lanes.
That sounds
for the
good to me.
drive-through. Drive-through. Okay, so we have the three items 1 through 3 from the staff recommendation. We have the pedestrian accommodations connecting sidewalk along Madison to the entrance, as well as a paint layout plan showing both the pedestrian accommodations as well as the separation of 1 traffic queuing line into 2 for the additional drive-through lane. And there is a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
I will second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further questions or comments from the Plan Commission? Okay, hearing none, I would call the question. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion carries. Item number 5 is review and possible action relating to a site plan review relating to signage for a T-Mobile located at 825 Lexington Boulevard. This is site plan review -2023-15.
Yes, so I think you'll recognize this site as where the LSM was previously located at. We did a sign review for them to move to their current location. This one was pretty simple. They meet all the requirements for materials, sign square footage. It's in concert with our comprehensive plan, and staff recommends approval as it is proposed. I believe it's magenta.
Ooh,
That'll stand out.
Matthew's magenta, to be precise.
Any questions or comments from the Plan Commission on this matter?
Yeah, so there's 2 wall signs and then the group development sign that would be next to Madison Avenue. That sign, that size is determined by the existing sign that's already there.
So that's like the tenant panel.
Correct. Yep.
And then you said there's 2 wall signs
2 wall signs. Yeah,
because there's 2 facades.
correct.
I move the approval of the requested signs for, as requested. I guess I'm not sure who it's for here, but for McCann Building Corporation.
No, that was for
T-Mobile.
Culvers. This is Alpha
T-Mobile.
Graphics is putting in.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any additional questions or comments from the Plan Commission on this matter? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion carries. Thank you. Next on the agenda is update and schedule relating to the conditional use permit for a group development for Fort Healthcare signage. This is CUP -2023-01. As we recall from the minutes and from the last meeting that we had, the Plan Commission moved forward a little too hastily with that healthcare, the Fort Healthcare sign package. We did the proper notification on the front end, but we did not hold the public hearing was not on the agenda as is required by our zoning ordinance. And thank you to Commissioner Gray for pointing that out to us. As you can see with with our filing number system, that CUP 2023-01, it was our first CUP of the year. While that is not an excuse, I will just point out that we appreciate the attention by Commissioner Gray, and we will certainly adjust our processes there. So to give you an update, we did renotice all of the property owners on July 26th, which was the day after our Plan Commission meeting. We did publish a new Class 2 notice in the paper. That notice was published on 8/1 and 8/8. The public hearing for this matter will be held in front of the Plan Commission on 8/22. And it will come back to the Plan Commission for possible action on 9/12/23. Any questions from the Plan Commission on that matter? Okay, item number 7 is adjournment. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Sure. Hi, thank you.
Okay, we are adjourned at 4:26 PM. Thank you all.
Thank you.